This is not a joke. These 4 cards just got banned in Commander from the Rules Committee. Dockside, Jeweled Lotus, Mana Crypt, and Nadu. So let's talk about it. Their explanation for Dockside is it isn't normally as explosive in the early game as the 2 other cards, and they're referencing Mana Crypt and Jeweled Lotus right here. But it can still go mana positive on turn 2 and start generating substantial treasures after that. It's been on the border for years, and we've shied away from acting in the past because the card scaled well with the power level of the table, but it's frequent contributor to more egregious snowballing starts. We should talk about the elephant in the room. We're not banning Sol Ring and have no desire to. I'm going to have a link to this article in the description down below, but to summarize, all of these cards are around $372, and I'm guessing for collector purposes, the value, I'm assuming, will lose at least 50% because these aren't going to be playable in Commander. I don't know the use of them outside of Commander, so I can't speak on that. All of these cards are encouraging fast mana, which is pretty much just get mana easy, get it quick. I personally disagree with this change, especially for competitive play. I think this makes games faster. Maybe it's a price thing. Maybe this prices people out of Commander and that was their justification. So let's look back into Mana Crypt. It says coming down for no mana on turn 1 is quite possibly to have the explosive start of Mana Crypt into a Signet, Talisman, Land, or another Signet, leaving that player untapping 5 mana on turn 2. In games going over 12 turns, the accumulated threat of damage for Mana Crypt provides a reasonable counterbalance for its explosive effect, but when you're snowballing to turn 6 to 8 win, it's meaningless drawback. So my argument with that is, while it has a, quote, meaningless drawback, a lot of cards have this in Commander. A lot of cards can become meaningless drawbacks under certain circumstances. Maybe the Commander allows a card to become really good, like for example with taking extra turns. There are commanders that can end your turn and you don't have to take this bad counterbalance effect. And then I know that Mana Crypt can go in any deck. I understand that, but I don't think this was worth banning in my opinion. Next, I want to talk about Jeweled Lotus. So their explanation is, this is another card that can give you 5 mana on turn 2. Jeweled Lotus does it without even needing a good hand. Though you're restricted in what you can do with the mana, 4 and 5 mana commanders can pack a significant punch nowadays, often drawing cards and make up for the one-shot mana. And defensive abilities such as Ward can't be interacted with in the early game. This is another thing I have to disagree with. I like that this card is limited to only casting commanders and only 3 mana of one color. I don't think it's worth banning in my opinion, but I do want to explain that I don't play competitive Commander, I do play casual. I have players in my friend group that play all of these cards, and we've never had an issue. We've never had to Rule 0 ban these cards amongst our play group. And last, let's talk about Nadu. So their explanation is that this is monopolizing the game. It's not what they want in the format or what they want the experience to be. They're saying that it has really long turns to do non-deterministic sequences that can't be shortcut and might eventually fizzle out. These aren't dedicated combo lines that you have the deck to build around. Just that you're playing a Simic shell that runs the risk of grinding the game down to a slog of resource accrual. In my opinion, I disagree with the bannings. I understand what they are saying, but I'm not sure if my play group will actually abide to this, and they don't have to. I know the Rules Committee is a recommended thing for casual players, but I know when it comes to competitive players, this isn't something they can not use. And like I mentioned before, these cards are currently worth $372 around there. I'm assuming people who have invested into these cards are going to be very disappointed, at least financially, and not being able to play it with their decks. That's going to be a disappointment as well. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'd love to hear them, and have a great Monday.